Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Washington Commanders 2-3, 1-1 on the road at the Atlanta Falcons 3-2, 3-0 at home. They look so much stronger at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's get into the line history here to get rolling. We have Atlanta sitting at -2.5 at Pinnacle. There are still juice twos on the board. This opened up at -2, -108. It's now -2.5 at -114, which would lead you to believe that there could be a 3 on its way. From a total scenario here, we are dealing with a 42s mostly across the board. It says 41.5 here at Penny, but that over is at -118. So it's moved 11 cents to the over at 41.5. So it's basically a 42. Let's get into the cash flow then for this spot. And we have no information on the amount of cash, but we have 85% of the tickets on the Falcons, and we have 48% of tickets and 72% of cash on this under. Don't want Spenny Pennybomb saying he doesn't want either of these bum-ass quarterbacks. Rand says sneaky over. Nate Dogg looking at Washington +2.5. Slatsy in the house. Great to see you, Slatsy. So the Commanders come in off extra rest after losing their third straight game, a disturbing 40-20 loss at home to the lowly Bears. Disturbing for me because, while at the casino, I made a, bigger than normal bet on Washington live at +17, and I thought it was just too easy. Yeah,
you got robbed. You got robbed, brother.
It's a cruel mistress, sports handicapping. Their defense looked awful. They were gashed for 451 yards. I do not get it. I'm looking at this front four, these famous names, these stars, and they're getting gashed. Sam Howell was 37 of 51 for 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. There was a lot that I liked watching. There was a lot that I didn't. 11 receivers caught passes, 8 of them catching multiple passes. I like all of that. Logan Thomas caught 9 passes for 71 yards and a touchdown. I hate when when players who aren't elite try to do too much, and that fumble was caused by Logan Thomas, who's a really smart football player, trying to do too much. Sam Howell rushed 4 times for 19 yards, and Brian Robertson Jr. ran 6 times for 10 yards. I mean, that can't happen. If you get nothing out of your run game, you can't keep the opposing team off the field. Curtis Samuel did catch 6 for 65. But this was supposed to be a strong defense. Only the Broncos defense is allowing more points. They could not find a way to stop DJ Moore. He caught 8 passes for 230 yards. He had 81.6% of their passing yards. So double him. That's all. Double him. But they got gashed on the ground for 178 yards. They gave the Chicago Bears 6 red zone opportunities, allowed the Bears to have their 4 biggest plays of the year. Washington lost 2 important players on their special team. All-Pro Jeremy Reeves, he out with a knee injury. It's partially torn ACL. He could be out for the season. They lost second-year defensive back Christian Holmes to a hamstring injury. Derek Forrest, their starting safeties, on the IR with a shoulder injury. And John Ridgway was injured late in the game. The Falcons come in off scoring 14 fourth-quarter points to deliver them a 21-19 home victory over the upstart Texans, a Texans team that I believe is a good football team. Atlanta's offense put up 447 yards. Desmond Ridder, 28 for 37, 329 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. I couldn't really believe what I saw there in that last drive. Minute 49 seconds left. Houston up 19-18, and Ridder completed 5 straight passes. It was impressive, and you got Kyle Pitts and Drake London involved. You got to let the big dogs eat. Kyle Pitts caught 7 passes for 87 yards. Drake London caught 6 for 78. Jonas Smith caught 6 for 67. They didn't get a ton out of their running game, 36 carries for 96 yards, but their defense couldn't get enough pressure on Stroud. They were held without a sack, but they held the Texans to just 1-3 in the red zone. They continued to excel in that area. They're 5th in the NFL, allowing opponents to convert just 38.5% of their red zone opportunities. Talking this out, look, I don't want to sell the Commanders low, but I don't see why Atlanta would not win this football game. And if it's under 3, I don't see why we don't back them. The Commanders aren't to be trusted, and their defense, talk to me about their defense, because this was supposed to be a strength, and it's a laughable product.
Yeah. So we'll get to the defense in a minute. I have to touch on Howell first, because I watched that that Bears Commanders game like a hawk because I was on the Commanders with a teaser, and I was with you, Jimmy, on the Commanders plus double digits, and we know how that turned out. It's pretty painful. The Bears have recorded 5 sacks against this quarterback, and the Bears couldn't even sniff a quarterback. Now, they did do some things that I'm going to get to when we get to the Bears differently on defense, but still, 5 sacks. This is the most sacked quarterback in the league, Sam Howell, whereas his offensive line is actually grading out as 8th in the NFL in pass blocking. So how does that match up? 32% of the pressures turn into sacks with Sam Howell at quarterback. Just to put it to you, just to give you some context behind it, 32%. Mahomes is at 5%. He's incredible, but the league average is around 20%. So he's over 50% worse than the league average quarterback. I think Rivera consistently makes questionable decisions, and Bieniemy, I think he's coaching Howell in the wrong way. I mean, we know he had the most talented quarterback in the world at Kansas City, and I think that what he's doing right now is too complex for young Sam Howell. We're not even sure if is a good enough quarterback at the NFL level, and I think he's probably introducing too many complex schemes for this kid to handle because there's no reason that this kid should be getting sacked this much. It means he's not able to read his progressions, he's hesitating, or it's taking him too long to get through it. So you have to sweeten it. You have to shorten it up for the kid. I don't think Bieniemy's willing to give an inch. I think he's trying to make a square peg fit into a round hole. It's not working. On the defensive side, I can't understand some of these metrics I look at. Supposedly they're second in pressure, but when I watch them play, the Bears handled them. They really weren't applying almost any pressure on Justin Fields without blitzing. And this is just a defense that can't defend the pass, the run. I think their secondary is probably the worst in the NFL, despite them ranking 21st in coverage. I feel like that's a little bit lenient based on what we've seen. But they give up some of the most explosive plays in the NFL, and that's pretty consistent every single week. So the Commanders are a little bit confusing to me, which is why I haven't moved on this game. And the Falcons, I mean, Ritter, like you said, look completely different. Aired it out compared to what he usually does. 9.2 air yards per attempt. That was top 3 this week. Pass attempts of 10-plus yards. He had 43 in weeks 1 through 4. This week he came out with 22. So I almost cut that, he almost doubled that in 1 week. He was throwing back shoulder verticals to London, tight windows over the middle, quick decisions, but very tight windows. If you notice, and this might be credit to the Texans defense a little bit, he was completing passes into the thinnest of windows. I don't think that's something that's really going to be sustainable. Maybe it is. Maybe he found something. Maybe he's just good at home. But it just looked like something that was a little bit unsustainable, even though he certainly looked really good. He definitely commanded the offense. He had 0 turnover-worthy plays this week. I'm not sure that the Falcons are equipped to take advantage of this this bad Commanders defense. We've seen them sputter out in the red zone, in opponents' territories, not deep in opponents' territories. As soon as they cross the 50-yard line, this offense sputters out consistently. Whether it's flags, whether it's fumbles, it don't matter. Something goes wrong. Something's still broken there. But I think you're right. I mean, it's hard for me to want to back either side because the Commanders coming off that embarrassing loss with a roster that I think is underperforming compared to what they could be doing. And you got the Falcons who I think are a little bit better than I had thought out the gates here. And if Ritter could play like he did this week, I feel like I just need to learn more now that Ritter had this type of game. So I'm off this game at this point.
Ron Crawford spreadsheet play today is Washington. Everybody in the chat saying Washington. The problem here is it just goes against the idea of selling high. I just can't sell Washington low. And Atlanta, with the second consecutive home opportunity, Washington off of extra rest. I can understand the under, but, Sam Howell and Washington's defense is a problem there for me. But Atlanta just seems to be playing in that direction. And at this point, I'll just leave under as a lean. I'll let you guys talk me off of backing Atlanta. And there was some stuff that I did like from Sam Howell in the second half, even though it all fell apart for him.
Hey, question on that. I mean, this team they're 31st in the NFL, the Commanders. They run the ball on only 31% of snaps. When I read stuff like that, that just takes me back to Bieniemy coaching this Commanders team like he was coaching the Chiefs team, which is a completely different situation. Like, there's something's wrong with the Commanders team. Like, I would be on the Falcons or nothing too, Jim. I'm with you on that.
Birdie says Washington in the teaser's really nice look.
I do agree.
Sky Dragon says Washington's played Buffalo, Philadelphia, Denver, Arizona, Chicago, who are all top 11 in yards per play. Atlanta's 22nd. This is a step down in offensive class for Washington. Washington's defense will be fine. Jared TG says Ritter hasn't lost a home game as a starter since high school. So I don't know, that doesn't really mean anything, but it's a crazy stat. Okay, well, this is what this show is for me. I'll get talked off of Atlanta, and I'll leave question marks around the under. Slim Fabo, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Let's move on.